Welcome everybody. Good Moed. We are going to learn Tractate Shabbos, the chapter 3. The name of the chapter is Kira, the special rectangular oven that we're discussing, mostly common or relevant to our modern ovens. So Daf Mem, page 40, A1. So we ended off yesterday why Rabbi Akiva retracted his opinion in favor of Yeshua. He was the disciple of Rabbi Yeshua. Perhaps the statement of Rabbi Yochanan led Rabbi Bar Chana to conclude that concerning our case, Rabbi Yochanan would hold that the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda, whose position is that of the mediator. It says in number 2, the basis for the following, the opinion of the mediator is that since he agrees with each Tana concerning one facet of the discussion, his agreement on one part of the discussion, his opinion combines with that of the Tana with whom he agrees to form a majority view concerning that facet. This outweighs the opinion of the single Tana with whom the mediator disagrees. Hence, the mediator is called the Machriya, the one who, the outweigher. In our case, Rabbi Yehuda agrees with Rabbi Meir that it is forbidden to rinse. It is forbidden to rinse with hot water, Shabbos. And Rabbi Shimon, that it is permissible to rinse with cold water, thus outweighing the opposing view in each case. Now, what if Rabbi Bar Chana learned it through an inference? Is the inference not valid? Perhaps this principle that the halacha follows the opinion of a mediator applies only to a mediating view that is recorded in the Mishnah. Likewise, the one concerning rags that are designated for an insignificant use, aval bevraisa, but not to a mediator that is recorded in a brisa, such as Rabbi Yehuda. Thus, if Rabbi Bar Chana did not hear Rabbi Yochanan state explicitly the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda, but merely inferred this from the previous statement, the validity of the inference is questionable. So the Gemara records Rabbi Bar Chana's reply to Rabbi Yosef, Amar le Anna befirush shemi ali. I heard this explicitly from Rabbi Yochanan. Having concluded that that it is forbidden to bathe, rinse one's entire body on the Shabbos with hot water, even if it was heated, the water were heated before the Shabbos. The Gemara cites an Amoraic discussion concerning the details of this prohibition. Why? Shabbos, hot water that was heated before the Shabbos. On the following day, the Shabbos, one may wash his entire body with it, one limb at a time. That's the opinion of Rav. According to Rav, the injunction against bathing on the Shabbos with hot water that was heated before the Shabbos pertains only to bathing the entire body at once. Washing one limb at a time, however, is permitted. It permitted washing only one's face, hands, and feet with hot water. Bathing the entire body, even one limb at a time, is forbidden. Meisive, they challenged Rav on the basis of the following bais. Shabbos, concerning hot water that was heated before the Shabbos, wash your hands, your feet, not your entire body. Due to the Rav, the Sims constitute a refutation to Rav, who follows that washing the entire body one limb at a time is permissible. And over here we see only hands, feet, face, hands, feet, and not the entire body. The difficulty to Rav. So Rav would tell you, that one should not wash his entire body at once, but rather should wash it one limb at a time. So, but it says clearly, but it says only explicitly face, hands, and feet. So he interprets, when you say really face, hands, and feet, you really mean the entire body, which it's in the same manner as one washes his face, hands, and feet, one limb at a time. So you're allowed to wash your body one limb at a time, according to Rav, with hot water that were heated before the Shabbos. It says you should not do it. You should only wash your head or face, hands and feet. So he says the Baisa means that one may wash the entire body in the same manner as one washes his face, hands and feet, one limb at a time. Tanika would say the Shmuel, the Baisa was taught in accordance with Shmuel, Shabbos. If water was heated before Shabbos, the following day you're allowed to wash your face, hands and feet, not your entire body. Ever one limb at a time, but not his entire body, even one limb at a time. Shmuel disagrees with Rav, and he said you should not wash the entire body, even one limb at a time. And it goes without saying that the same prohibition applies to chamin, to hot water that was heated on a festival, that you should not be washing your entire body one limb at a time, rather just head, your face, your hands and feet, according to Shmuel. Rabbi Menashe the Rav by Lishna. Rav taught this discourse of Rav in this manner. Chamin shuchum erev Shabbos. Concerning hot water was heated before the Shabbos. According to Rav, you are allowed to wash your whole body, your entire body, but must leave one limb unbathed. I don't know, maybe your tippy toe, leave it unbathed.
No, one leg, arm, leg.
Okay. One hand, according to Rabba's version as well, they challenge Rab with all those challenges. It says face, hands, and feet. Tuvta, and indeed those biases constitute a refutation to Rab's opinion. Although Rab has a lenient opinion, but it is being challenged.
How would we go in a hot mikveh?
That's different.
Okay.
Why is it different?
Because it's a mitzvah. By some opinions. I don't know. Why is it different?
Actually, there are those who say that you shouldn't wash, you shouldn't bathe, you shouldn't turban, but it's not bathing.
Right.
In a hot mikveh. Amal Rav Yosef said to Abai, Rabba Mika Ovid Kishmaita de Rab. Did Rabba follows Rav teaching in practice? Did he do it or not? He washed his entire body on Shabbos with hot water that was heated before the Shabbos, one limb at a time. He said, I don't know what was his actual practice. Mighty boy, obviously Rabba could not have followed Rav's teaching in practice since it was refuted. They did not follow his teaching. Maybe Rabba did not hear the refutations, and perhaps he did follow Rav's opinion. But if Rabba did not hear the refutation, he certainly followed Rav's ruling in practice. Because Abai said, in all masters Rabba's affair, he acted in accordance with Rav. Except with the exception of these three cases where he acted in accordance with Shmuel. Remember, Rav and Shmuel were always the bodies, the two the rabbis that refuting each other had different opinions, but they learned together, and it was like Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish, Rav and Shmuel. So Rabba followed Rav in all times, except three cases that he followed Shmuel. He conceded that we may attach tzitzis taken from an old garment to a new garment, like Shmuel, and we may kindle one Chanukah light to another Chanukah light, and that the halacha follows Rabbi Shimon, a matter of dragging heavy furniture on the Shabbos or it may create a furrow in the ground. Since as a rule, Rabbah followed the opinion of Rav, why did Rav Yosef need to inquire about Rabbah's practice in regards to bathing on Shabbos? You know that if it's known that Rabbah always followed Rav, why did he need to inquire about him bathing on Shabbos if he followed Rav or not? If he followed or not? So kechumre de Rav Ovid, kekule de Rav lo Ovid, because in general, Rabbah followed the stringencies of Rav, but did not follow the leniencies of Rav. Since Rav's opinion concerning bathing on the Shabbos represented the leniency, that he said you're allowed to wash your body with water heated before the Shabbos one limited time, Rav Yosef needed to inquire whether Rabbah followed it or not. Concerning a bathhouse that was heated and whose vents were closed before the Shabbos, I guess to maintain the heat. Upon the conclusion of the Shabbos, one may bathe in this bathhouse immediately, but one may not bathe in it on Shabbos. Now, similarly concerning a bathhouse that was heated and whose vents were closed before a festival, on the next day, on the day follows after the festivals, one may enter the bathhouse and steam bathe. It's very good to steam bathe in our time if we had it. But he must then exit and rinse in the outer chamber of the bathhouse. There was an incident in the bathhouse of Bnei Brak, which had been heated and whose vents had been closed before a festival. On the following day, Rabbi Elazar ben Azar and Rabbi Akiva entered the bathhouse and steam bathed in it. And then they exited and rinsed in the outer chamber. However, its tub of hot water had been covered with boards. When the matter was brought to the attention of the sages, they heard about it. They said, in 48:3, they said, it is permitted to rinse in the outer chamber, even if its tub of hot water was not covered with boards. But as sinners proliferated, a lot of sinners around, the sages began to forbid steam bathing. Nevertheless, concerning the public bathe or public bath of large cities, one may stroll through them without concern that people will suspect him of steam bathing. What does it mean, sinners proliferated? What does it mean? People would bathe on the Shabbos. Originally, people would bathe on the Shabbos in hot water that had been heated before the Shabbos. However, the bathhouse attendants began bathing, began heating the bath on the Shabbos and saying that they were heated before the Shabbos. So also thereupon the sages forbade bathing in any hot water on the Shabbos, because they used to heat it on Shabbos. But they were still allowed steam bathing. However, people would still bathe in the bathhouses on the Shabbos in water heated before the Shabbos in violation of the sages' injunction. And they would just say, we were merely steam bathing. Also the sages forbade them even to bathe on the Shabbos, to steam bathe on Shabbos. But they still allowed bathing in the waters of the Tiberian hot springs, which still existed to this very day. However, people in the Tiberian area would still bathe in water that was heated by fire before the Shabbos. And they would say that they bathed in waters of the Tiberian hot springs. So the rabbis forbade also the hot springs of Tiberia. And allowed them only to bathe in cold water. And so that this matter is not, also they could not handle that as well. They could not sustain this decree. So they allowed, once again, they allowed to them to bathe in waters of the Tiberian hot spring, and Zeo stands in its place. What does it mean? However, the injunction against steam bathing remained in its place. Remaining in place. The injunction against steam bathing remained in place. Don't steam bathe on Shabbos. That's the bottom line. Anyone who violates even a rabbinical prohibition intentionally, it is permitted to call him avarion, a sinner. Keman, whose opinion? Like the Tanya that said, with this previous Tana who referred to those who violate the rabbinical injunction against bathing in hot water on the Shabbos, he referred to them as sinners. Gemara says a segment of the previous Tanaic statement, concerning the public bath of large cities, one stroll through them, and he doesn't have to be concerned with people suspecting of steam bathing. Specifically to bathhouses of large cities, but one may not stroll through the bathhouses of small towns. Since the bathhouse of small towns are small, so they are hotter, they're steamier, they're very steamy, and merely strolling through them is tantamount to steam bathing. One may warm himself in front of a fire and go out and rinse with cold water. So long as he does not do the opposite and first rinse himself with cold water and then warm himself while still wet in front of a fire. Why? Because then he thereby warms the water that is on him. Is warming the water on Shabbos. One may heat a towel and place it on a stomach on the Shabbos as a remedy for stomach ache. So long as it does not bathe a kettle of hot water and place it on his stomach on the Shabbos. And this practice is forbidden even on a weekday because of the danger involved, for the water in the kettle may be scalding hot and might injure him. One may bring a pitcher of water and place it in front of a fire, not in order for it to be heated, but merely in order for its chill to go off. A woman may bring a flask of oil and place it in front of a fire, not for the oil, not in order for it to be cooked, but merely in order for it to be warmed slightly. A woman may anoint her hand with oil and warm it in front of a fire. And then her small son, and that she smears it on her son. A woman may anoint her hand with oil and warm it in front of a fire. She warms her hand that has oil on it. And then she puts it on her small son with warmed oil. She touches her son with this oily hand that was warmed up. Ve'ena choshesh need not be concerned the possibility of desecrating the Shabbos. Ibalu shemen ma'u Tanakama. They inquired, what is the law concerning oil according to the Tanakama? Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef both said in that the Tanakama is more permissive in regard to oil than in regard to water. That is, he permits even placing oil in front of a fire to heat it. Rabbi Menashe bar Yitzchak said that the Tanakama is more prohibitive in regard to oil than in regard to water. That is, it forbids even placing oil in front of a fire to take its chill off. The Mapusitzu explained the Tanakama opinion as well as the remainder of the Baisa according to each of these views. Rabbi and both of them said they were both said that the Tanakama is more permissive in regard to oil than in regard to water, and holds that whereas water may not be placed in front of a fire for heating until the hand recoils from it, oil, even leaving it in front of a fire to the point that the hand recoils from it, is permissible. Because Tanakama said shemen is not bishul, is not cooking. Unlike water, oil is not subject to cooking. Also, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, shemen yesh bo mishum bishul. Oil is subject to cooking. And like water, merely warming it is not the act of cooking it. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda extends the Tanakama's rule to oil and state that one may warm a flask of oil in front of a fire, but must not heat it there. Also, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel then comes to say that indeed, shemen yesh bo mishum bishul, ve'efsheroi zoi bishuloi. Oil is subject to cooking, but unlike water, warming it is the act of cooking it. Therefore, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel does not allow placing a flask of oil in front of a fire even to warm it. Yitzchak says you shouldn't do it, not oil, not water. Shemen af b'shein not salat, but also even if the hand is not recoiled from the fire, it's not hot fire, you shouldn't put oil next to it. Kasova shemen yesh bo mishum bishul, v'efshero ze bishulo. He said oil is subject to cooking, and even if it's taking off the chill, it's still considered bishul. But also Rabbi Yehuda, that's its bishul, according to Rabbi Nachman. Also, with the name of Sheiro Lo is a bishul, and it says no. Warming oil is not an act of cooking it, and it is therefore permitted to place a flask of oil in front of the fire, albeit not to make it hot. Also, comes Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and he says, just like Rabbi Nachman, oil is subject to cooking, and warming it is the act of cooking. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Tanakama, according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, interpretation, the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is the same as that of the Tanakama. Why then, or thereby, why is it cited as two separate opinions? The difference between them is k'la'achayad. What does it mean? Regarding the permissibility of warming the oil in an unusual manner. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel allows warming oil by anointing oneself with it and standing in front of the fire. Tanakama makes no such suggestion, forbids even this. Both in regard to oil, in regard to water, but also if the hands recoils from the fire, if it's so hot and it's prohibited. What is and what is considered the degree of heat from which hands recoils? Anything that is so hot that the infant's tender belly would be scalded by it. It would not be comfortable. It would feel like it's burning him. Stomach of a baby. So that's what's the hand recoils. I know that in halacha, Yatzei letters boy, I believe it's 108 or 109 Fahrenheit.
Oh, that. Okay.
What is considered Yatzei letters. I guess this is a cup of tea. You stick your hand and you have to. It recoils right away. I was about Rabbi Menashe אחר רבי לבית המרחץ. It was on one occasion, I followed Rabbi into the Tiberian bathhouse on Shabbos. And I wished to place a flask of oil in a hot bathtub in order to warm it up. Omerli. And he said to me, Rabbi said to me, Rabbi said to me, take some water in a secondary vessel and place the flask into the vessel to warm it, not directly into the hot water, rather in the second vessel. Cliche. You learn from this three things. Number one, oil is subject to cooking. Secondary lesson was the second vessel is not capable of cooking. And learn from it also that warming oil is the act of cooking it. How could the Gemara digresses the question of how Rebbe could have made the previous remark inside the bathhouse? What is he teaching halachas in the bathhouse? Every place you're allowed to say words of Torah or to think words of Torah, except the bathhouse. And a bathroom. Maybe you can say that he said it in a secular language rather than in the holy tongue. Abaye said, he says, you're allowed to say matters of choil, meaning speak about business in Hebrew, in the Lashon HaKodesh. But holy things, you shouldn't say it in a secular language. According to Abaye, I guess teaching in English would be a problem. So Afushim is Surah Shani. The Gemara says preventing a transgression is different. It is permitted to speak about Torah matters in an unclean environment in order to prevent someone from committing a transgression, as Rabbi did. There was an incident with the Talmud, with the disciple of Rabbi Meir. He walked after he followed Rabbi Meir to the bathhouse. And this Talmud wanted to wash the floor. This disciple wanted to wash the floor of the bathing pool for him. Rabbi Meir said to him, one may not wash the floor on Shabbos. The student then wanted to smear the floor with fragrant oil. Rabbi Meir said to him, one may not smear the floor on the Shabbos. So, but he told him halacha in the bathhouse. How was it possible? So the answer is preventing somebody from transgression is different from an ordinary case and is permissible. Here too, concerning the incident involving Rabbi Yitzchak Baravdimi, we are correct in saying that preventing transgression is different, is allowed. We may further learn from Rebbe's remark, the one who cooks with the heat of the Tiberian hot springs on the Shabbos is liable for Shabbos desecration. It's cooking. The Omai said that Rabbi for this incident involving Rabbi occurred after the decree against steam bathing on the Shabbos. The bathhouse that he entered must have been supplied by the Tiberian hot springs, to which the decree does not apply. And he said, use a second vessel. The Gemara says, is it so that you're not allowed to cook on Shabbos with the water of the hot springs of Tiberia? It says, in the name of Chisda, one who cooks with the heat of the Tiberian hot springs on the Shabbos is not liable, since this is not prohibited under biblical law. What is it in fact, the meaning of Ravina's expression that he's liable? He's liable to what? He's liable to makas mardus, the lashes for rebelliousness. Lashes for rebelliousness, since by cooking in the hot springs he violates a rabbinical injunction. I once observed Rabbi Abahu apparently floating in an in-ground bathtub on the Shabbos. I guess like a swimming pool. Mm-hmm. The tub was filled with either cold water or hot springs water, so that the injunction against bathing hot water on the Shabbos did not apply. See over here, you can see the difference between bathing and going into a tub. It says the tub was filled in 30. It says presumably the tub was filled with either cold water or hot spring water. So the injunction against bathing is not in hot water on the Shabbos did not apply. Anyhow, it says, I once observed Rabbi Abahu apparently floating in an in-ground bathtub on the Shabbos. And I do not know if he lifted his feet off the ground and actually floated, or he did not lift his feet off the ground and did not really float at all. So the Gemara says, Pshita de lo yakar. It is obvious that Rabbi Abahu did not lift his feet off the ground at Tanya, because it says, Lo yoshut odom v'veichom elo mayim. One may not swim in a pool full of water, v'afilu emeres b'chotzer, even if it is situated in an enclosed yard. Why was Rabbi Zera in doubt about this? The Gemara answers, Leikashio. There's no difficulty. This ruling of the Baita, which forbids swimming in a pool, the leis legidure, refers to a case where the pool does not have an embankment. There's no fence.
No, embankment is different than a fence.
It says gidurim, gidude, embankment.
It's different.
Anyhow, but it's
like
enclosed, no?
No, it's like you got a border with the ground coming up, like a dike, but not not.
Okay. So whereas this incident in which Rabbi Zera entertained the thought that Rabbi Abahu was floating in an in-ground tub, the is legi dude involved a case where the tub had embankment. It says number one, a pool that has no rim. Okay, that's the word. A pool that has no rim or embankment is similar to a lake. Therefore, the injunction against swimming, which was enacted out of concern that one might make a life preserver, and applies primarily to swimming in natural bodies of water, was extended to pools that have no embankment. However, a pool that has a rim or embankment is more similar to a portable tub, in which it is certainly permitted to swim, since there is no concern that one may make a life preserver. Since Rabbi Zera saw Rabbi Abahu apparently floating in an in-ground tub that had a rim, it occurred to him that Rabbi Abahu might have lifted his feet, and floating there is indeed permitted. As mentioned previously, nowadays it is customary not to bathe or swim at all on the Shabbos. Bruchim Tiyu. We'll have shortly another video on Tractate Sota.